Jason?
Aye.
Anything tables? What do you want to go to next, Mike?
Gail Retzloff is here if you would want to make a change on the agenda, move up number 11. And we have any other questions you might have of the application.
Okay, Gail, you don't have anything to say about it?
It is what it is. You guys gave us money last year to purchase the van, and apparently you didn't spend it wisely because the motor blew up. Now we have to put a new motor in the van. Or it's for the motor. We don't make any, we're a non-profit. Getting non-profit every day.
So isn't it negative profit now?
No, not profit. The Chamber of Commerce, somebody asked about that, gave us $750, I think, last week, but we just received a bill right after that for insurance for the next year for $379. Most of that $750 is gone. Plus it costs money to put gas and things like that.
Yeah, in fact, this is a special exception. The council had asked that, I think Brooke had brought it up a couple months ago, or maybe even last month, that take this as a look at what the needs were, and December's not our normal month, so this was an exceptional application.
They can ask for whatever they want, so we just had to give them.
How much is in the fund right now?
I'll tell you in just a second. Unless you get to it faster than I do. Keno looks like it's got about 22.4, and that doesn't include this quarter, which would come up to us in December. We won't get that till the 1st of January, so running about 3,000-4,000 now per quarter, so it's probably about 26,000.
But it has been going down.
Yeah, it used to be about 5,000 a quarter. We're now getting about 3,000, 4,000 in there a quarter.
Okay.
At the high level.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application grant with, as long as they fill out the other form that we have, so we kind of know, have some consistency with what the grants are, but with your approval, that gets done right, I would make a motion that we accept the grant for $38,800, I'm sorry. $38,000.
I'll second the motion for 3,800.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve that grant for the clown doll, or not clown doll.
Van.
Van, Judy,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Grant, aye. Motion carried.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank
I'll
you.
have a form in the office tomorrow. Or maybe yet tonight. You guys might be here for a while. I can maybe get that done yet.
Let's hope not.
Okay, thank you guys. We'll think of you the next time you play the real pool.
We need to ride home too, by the way.
Who does?
All of us.
From here. Oh, okay.
Are we playing the parade of
We'll give
lights?
this man around. But,
Yeah, bring the van around.
I was there when Okay, are we down to number 4, I guess, the police report?
Number 12, let's keep going.
For this, I guess we're still on the discussion or action on the ordinance to enforce firework resolutions within the city. I don't know if you had some.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, if you want to go to that, right off. We just, this is, the one with the clip on it, the clean, better copy. We got plenty. This takes the content. Are there more than 5 of you now?
7.
They have 10 copies.
They got the clean, they got
one.
They have a clean one. Okay, sorry.
4th to July 5th, the last sentence of number 1. And then I added that paragraph between 1 and 2. That's really mostly what you talked about last time. If the 4th falls on a Friday, they can go through the weekend with fireworks July 5 and 6 instead of just July 5. And limiting the hours from, we didn't talk about start time. I just threw on there 8 o'clock a.m. to midnight on the 4th, and otherwise 8 o'clock a.m. to 11 p.m. Those were the two end times you talked about. Midnight on the 4th and 11 p.m. on any other day. Those are the only changes. The exceptions there, number 2 were there before. There was no change there. You can do a separate special public exhibition if you wish. But the fire marshal always has the power to grant farmers the right to set off bird bombs or something. You don't see that much, but that's a standard provision. I think that would do for your amendment.
Do we have the ordinance number?
Ordinance number, without Lori being here, would be TBD, to be determined.
Chief Houston, what do you think?
That'd be fine.
Any comments?
I don't, I'll make a motion to approve it if there's no comments.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the ordinance. Judy?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jason? Aye. Grant? Aye. Bruce? Passed. So,
This looks like citations,
We're
dogs,
gonna finish that off. We need to pass it on second, third reading.
I'll make a motion
Waive second, third.
We'll waive the third readings.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded to waive the second and third readings of the ordinance. Judy?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Grant? Aye. All right, so now we are.
Citations, dogs, and fraud are on the increase.
We picked up under the fraud, we picked up quite a few phone calls have been coming in on internet fraud. So,
It's
that time of year, so people are buying and not shipping or sending money and not receiving.
Bruce, what are you doing? Would you just pass it on to the state patrol? or-
State Patrol's got a unit that works the cyber stuff.
I was gonna say, I didn't think our CSI lab was that big.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Because especially when you start dealing, cross state lines and stuff,
Yeah.
they've got the connections we don't.
You should see him, he's a real cyber guru when it comes to hackers and stuff.
With this password right there on the computer on a sticky note.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Chief.
Oh, brother.
Did the dog thing get taken care of?
Yep.
Excellent.
So the bill got
Yep.
sent to the,
Yep, everything's
I saw that was in there.
transferred over.
While you're here, I do have one question for you, I guess. I talked with you and Jerry and, maybe just you two actually, about the way that the auto dialer is set up now. You guys are receiving calls along with the emails.
Correct.
Is Jerry, and I guess maybe you requested that it doesn't call anymore? Is that true, or would you just as soon leave it as it is so it calls you plus sends an email? Or what do you-
Right now, the only phone that's calling is mine because my number's in there.
Yeah,
So-
but I mean, whoever's on
But-
call, that, the biggest thing, like when Tyler was on call, if somebody would call into that number, leave a message, it sends him an email to his Gmail account, as well as calling his
Yeah.
cell phone.
Which the Gmail actually comes in faster than the
Yes.
call.
Exactly.
And then that's a lot, on these new phones that we have, it's a lot easier to retrieve. I mean, you hit your Gmail and you hit the sound bar and it plays it. The auto attendant, we still have to go through a series of,
You press one for this, enter your passcode.
20-some numbers before we even get to it.
And that's,
So-
I guess, to be honest with you, I've gone away from the dialing myself. We use the same dialer for when we're on call. And I've gone just that straight Gmail email account, just for the fact that, is what, it's up to you, I mean, I guess.
I would say we could knock it off.
Turn off the dialer.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because,
Could you change
just,
the could you change
just
the
to-
passcode to a 4-digit passcode as well? I mean, can you lower that passcode so it's not,
No,
you know,
this
no,
one's on a straight
because
stand?
it can be hacked
Yeah.
and,
you actually go in, you gotta push a number to enter it, then you push a number to enter it, then you push a number to retrieve it, and then you push your passcode. And you keep going. Meantime, we've already received it through the Gmail on the smartphones, and we've also received it through email on the computers.
yeah.
So, you know, just to clarify, we don't just get it on the phones, we also still get it on the computers.
Yeah.
So actually, you know, with the auto dialer, we're getting it 3 times.
I'd leave it so they still get both, just in case, because God forbid the internet goes out.
Well, that's why we do it to the Gmail accounts.
You know, so if we get it for backup, you know, through the Gmail and also through the computers in the office, we got them
Okay.
twice at least. But that would be fine.
Okay.
Any other questions for Bruce? Nothing more?
Thank you.
If I don't see you all, have a good Merry Christmas. See you next year. Unless you're careless.
It says here manager report, but,
She'll be late, she'll be here about.
okay.
If we're
And-
still
Roger, for economic development, I guess that's where we're at.
Hiding in the back, couldn't see me.
It says discussion on the 840 plan.
I'll probably take the lead on that one a little bit more. If Roger wants to give you his report first.
I'll just give you the report and then we can get to that portion, I guess. This report will be for the month of November and then dipping it a little bit into December, or at least up to this time. I will be gone next month, so I won't be attending the meeting, but I'll be back for February. Some of the things that kind of went, a little bit of a slow month in some ways, but made a contact with a small business owner about a business building and give them a prospect that may want to purchase that property. At this point, I don't know if anything has transpired. I don't think so. At this time also, we have no definite confirmation on the leasing of the Legion Club restaurant. The interested party told me they have completed their business plan and loan application for an operating loan. But as of this time, I think they're still waiting for approval or denial, whatever happens on their loan. So nothing definite on that. I did attend the Plainview Development Company meeting and the Pierce County Economic Development meeting. One of the things I did do, I made a presentation to a fast food restaurant, which many times I get comments, on some of you probably have too. Why don't we have why don't we have a Pizza Hut? Why don't we have McDonald's? Why don't we have Wendy's? Why don't we have Burger King? Or whatever the name might be, several of them out there. So I did look up and research these franchises, and I tell you folks, if you want to do it, you can get on the internet and it'll blow your mind what it costs to get a franchise and get it set up. It's unbelievable. The way you can do it, an individual can buy a franchise, set up the restaurant, fund it all by himself, get his loan, whatever he needs to do, but he has to have about 40% cash on his own before they'll approve a franchise. The balance he can borrow. And then when he gets done, he has to have a net worth of $1 million when he gets done. And when you get into McDonald's, Wendy's, it's even more than that. This one I'm giving you is the lowest example. But I did ask him to take a look at us. Don't know whether anything will happen. A local person can do it. Another store in another town, for example, can make you a companion unit and set up in your town if they're interested in you, or the company can put in a company-owned store. Now, it's not mislead anyone, there are very few company-owned stores. And this one I talked to, they have 2. They have 2 company-owned stores. The rest are individually owned, and the chances of them coming in, I don't know. They have the information, they acknowledged it. I talked to him on the phone. He said he will get back to me on if they think they can do anything. I don't know if it's a good answer, but I've heard this comment for 35 years, 40 years since I've been in town. Why can't we have one? That maybe explains a little bit why it's not done very easy.
Or just look at our populations.
Population is an issue always a population.
Right, but they said the same thing when they wanted to put up that subway, and now you got one in Creighton and Plainview Piers too. So I think they may rethink.
Subway franchise of it, something like Roger's talking about. or-
I understand it, but I'm still saying, they thought Subway, it was too small. This town was too small for a Subway.
They look at that, of course, but they also look at the traffic you have in your town. That's part of the issue, how much traffic you have in your high traffic areas, and of course ours is Highway 20 and 13, of course. So anyway, the information's in front of them. Can't guarantee any results, but at least we'll give it a try. You don't know if you can't ask. If you don't ask, you don't know. And that's where we're at with that one. A little additional information, I guess. Well, in coordination with the Plainview Development Company, I did make 2 contacts with a contractor developer to see if we could get some additional interest in establishing more new housing in the area where new housing is being built right now. One of them had a definite no, the other one hasn't said no, but has not really responded, so that's an unknown yet at this point. But I think if we keep asking, we'll eventually get the right person who may want to do this. It'd be a real plus for us. And we'll talk, of course, a little later about LB 840 and to work on establishing that plan. The other item, I guess, I made 2 presentations to prospects for the side dumper building in late November and early December. I had made a total of 5 since the building became vacant. The first 2 are not interested, 1 still a maybe, and 2 have not responded. Now, to carry on a little bit further, here's the news from yesterday. I got an email from the owner saying the building is sold. And they will not at this time disclose who the buyer is or what the intent of the use of the building is going to be. That won't be done until the closing or the deal is closed, and they will tell us. So it is marketed, it is done. I don't know whether it happened. We did prepare a lot of information to put on the Northeast Nebraska and the State Department of Economic Development website. I gathered up 8 pages of information, plus I took photos and got it into them and went on the site. It's been out there. I don't know if that sold it. We don't know whether our contacts sold it. We don't know if they did it personally. Have no idea. When the announcement comes out, then we'll know if the results are a result of what we did or someone else did. Don't know that. No way to tell. So it's a good news in a way, but the real concern that I have is that it does something to produce some jobs in the community, and we'll wait and see what that is. We can't. I tried to find out today when the closing might be, and I have not got a response on that. So I'm not sure how long we have to wait to find out what's going on there. But
I've been told January 1st.
yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be maybe before the end of the year, but I don't know.
I have a question. I asked last month about the impact of the sales tax of side dumper being gone, and through talking about it with Mike, did you verify that at all? Anything? We were discussing about how much of a loss the sales tax from side dumper would be, and the last I heard was that we weren't getting any sales tax from side dumper anyway, which is weird. Do we need to annex that now?
It didn't have anything to do with annexation. It was
That was part of the deal originally?
It was part of the deal originally, and the way they set it up to actually become tax-free, sales tax.
And they were getting a break on the utilities too, is that?
Plus, they had a incentive, or they had a utility breakdown. So
If they sell their product to another dealer who's tax exempt, you don't collect taxes, and that's
Right.
that's essentially what they were doing the last how many months?
Right.
No sales tax.
I just found that to be amazing.
You collect real estate taxes, but not sales tax. Yeah.
I just found that to be kind of
So what'll develop in the future, I don't know. You know, it does produce jobs, those things we can use. Jobs in town help us.
Sure.
Even if they don't pay sales tax, you know, it does still help us to have jobs. So hopefully that'll be the result of the sale. We don't know yet. No real quick answers because they won't give them to us yet. I don't have anything else other than if anyone has questions or want to get into LB 840 to try and set up dates for that.
Is there any possibility that the company that's coming in would manufacture something that we could collect sales
I
tax
have
on?
no idea.
I mean, is it a possibility?
It's always a
Doesn't have to
possibility.
be, is it in the city limits?
Yes.
It does not matter whether city limits or outside of city limits, because the way the sales tax was set up, it was the way they were incorporated and the way they became a tax-free structure. Whoever they sell it to may not be that structure at all. It
Do
may
we
be-
collect
But
sales
they're not.
tax from Green Line?
Yes,
That comes to Plainview?
yes.
Okay.
But they're not, they didn't, I mean, it doesn't matter, they're already gone, it doesn't make any difference. But remember a couple of months ago, we also talked about the city's economic development policy. If they're inside the city limits, are they gonna get the half utilities, or do you wanna review the industrial to attract, or if it's sold, but you may wanna talk about that.
That's still in place.
Utilities are there.
I mean, it would
He
be.
means the utilities.
But that was the deal with the city, was the
We have
reduced
utilities.
utilities forever,
Yeah, but
because they were gonna be
the
using so
deal
much.
now is just for a year. Any new
That's
business.
half for a year.
Right.
Industrial power, that could kill you in 2 months. It's one of those things.
I would like to see the closing, and that particular deal was set up by the engineer particularly for side dumper. So with the assumption that they're selling it to another one, they start with the slate clean. They would be put on the regular industrial rate rather than the cut rate that side dumper had. I would expect that if it is a manufacturing entity, they might come to the city in a later date and want to receive any break or any incentive that they could, if it's a make or break deal. That would be a policy decision and not mine, but as of right now, the slate starts clean and the rates will be redone.
So they were effectively wholesaling those trailers? Is
No,
what
it's
the deal?
point of sale. Sales tax on a trailer or anything like that's point of sale, so if it sells in Indiana, they say,
So you pay the wheel
They
tax
pay
there,
Indiana.
or whatever it is, yeah, okay.
That way,
Wondering, in 10
Indiana.
years,
that way.
yeah, that's, no.
Okay. 840?
Not Wyoming. So we don't beleaguer the LB 840 you have in your packets. Here's all I want from you to take the initial, the thing you have is the first half of that plus is Roger's contribution to the LB 840 plan. The second part of that you'd received some time ago from Bruce. I just put it back in again so that you could have the outline on what these statutes say on an LB 840 plan and what the requirements are. Our first step is to, if we want to continue this, and this was brought up last month, is to now take a look at a January special meeting to talk about the LB 840 so that it can get into an ordinance. And that's basically where we're at, so you can start working with this.
Okay. So you want this?
You have it, yeah, a special meeting in January just for the LB 840, nothing else.
Anything more from me?
No, just
Hang
that,
around for the intern talk, please, if you have time.
I think you did real well on this, Roger, and appreciate you putting the time and effort into it.
Always hope it's worth it.
As somebody who deals with cities that don't have an LD 40, this puts us way ahead. Way ahead.
That's, I mean, the hard part's over, the money's there.
Right.
So that's the easiest part. That's what we have to make clear to everyone, that there's no cost raised anywhere.
Do we have a date picked for this meeting, or do you want to try to do that now?
Yes. We wouldn't do it the same week as the city council meeting, which is the 14th. Like the 16th or something, so it's fresh in our minds, or
The only thing, and I think it's perfectly fine, the only thing is if you wanna discuss the LB 840, simultaneously go into a meeting with an agenda item, you would already have your discussion and your plan in place, and then at the agenda on January, you could then effectively do an ordinance and get it in place, for that.
You could do that either way. You could do that whether we did it at the regular meeting and then at the special meeting, or whether we had the special meeting and then the regular one.
Could, there'd be some presumption, but I mean, you certainly would be taking a step either way.
What do you mean by some percent?
Well, if you go to the regular agenda meeting and decide to pass an ordinance without having the special meeting to discuss what you want in it, you're just putting it a little bit ahead of the.
No, I'm not saying vote on it, I'm saying talk about it at the regular meeting, then you could have a special meeting to make it an ordinance and post it.
Sure, you could do it that way.
Why don't we do the special meeting on January 8th? That's a Wednesday, is that okay for everyone?
Talk about that being for the hearing,
Yeah, well,
No,
I get it, get everything together,
just to talk
have her
about
plan, have her
the
ready,
terms of the
and then we'll
plan.
just do it, and then the special meeting, or the regular meeting, we'll just get it ordinance.
does that give us enough time
Mhm.
though? Gives us enough time.
Is that enough time?
Can't be there if it's a Wednesday anyway. So not enough time.
This would be just a special meeting put into it, it's not a hearing that
Thursday?
Bruce is referring to, so.
Doesn't have anything to do with me.
Well, you wanna report on it, I'd prefer to get out there.
He wants free press coverage. He'd like to buy an ad and have you write it.
Sure.
That'd be all right.
What do you guys decide?
What about the night?
That's,
Is that okay for you?
Then I,
The night?
So what's the purpose of this again? There's a special, you're gonna do a special
We're
meeting
gonna-
that's not the public hearing?
No, the public hearing,
would be at the regular city council meeting.
what Bruce is referring to, and you could do this, and I mean, it's not a problem, you can have a special meeting as a hearing and let the public have the input as well. What you're doing now is, this has to be constructed somehow. So you're either gonna construct it, put it together, and have a special hearing after that for public input, or you can do it simultaneously.
I think we're better off talking about it and figuring it out before we present it to anybody else.
That's fine, okay, just a meeting of the council to work out the details
Right.
and settle on the plan.
Right,
And then set your hearing.
right.
Okay.
can you make that meeting, Bruce? Just to make sure we get all the legalities. Okay, January 9th, please.
7?
You wanna do it January 7th?
No.
No, it's-
Oh, that's 7th, sure. I'm recording it that way.
Just for the council,
Right.
mayor and council primarily, it'll be public.
Okay,
Go over the plan.
Go figure.
Okay.
We'll make it a public holiday.
Excuse me.
So we need on the 840 plan then for now?
Yeah, I mean, you wanted the draft this month, and you've got basically the draft and the statutes that govern the draft, so that should be enough to really put some body and meat to it from the council.
Then you got the intern thing.
Yeah, the intern thing. Yes, that thing. What do you got for us, Mike?
On the intern thing, on the internship that you wanted to propose, and I thought it was a very good idea, we've had one resume come back on the WSC Cat Tracker. His name is Mark Schulte. He is Joe Blankenau protege, if you want to call it that. He's a very well-spoken person out of Omaha. He just graduated with his BS degree under Joe, and he would like to just get some experience in working with municipalities and working with research analysis and putting together the grants.
How's he gonna live in Omaha and work up here?
He wouldn't be. One of the things we asked, the requirement was that he would come up at least once a month to meet with the council, and I asked if that was any problem whatsoever. But he'll do a report and do the research primarily online. And I think that's
I'd like
kind
to
of,
see what we can get from Wayne State too, because.
Yeah. Well, technically, he gets from Wayne, but I understand what you're saying too. Did we have?
yeah,
we've only
he's not,
had-
there's no guarantee. This is what you have in place so far. We haven't seen any others come in,
Right.
but they will. I mean, I have a feeling we'll get more.
So we would have, what do you think, put the,
Make a decision by February.
Did some,
You
I
wanna
have,
wait
at
till-
home, I forgot to bring it, there was an article in the paper about grants for internships.
Mhm.
That was, and that is a different program, but yeah, there definitely is grants. They tend to be swallowed up a little bit more by places that are offering 5 to 10 internships at a time, like hospitals and that. They do a fantastic job. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't qualify.
I'll actually find out Thursday what we have for 2014 at the state.
Yeah, it's a good program.
okay, well, let's put, this is my proposal, we'll put the closing date or whatever, applications due by the next city council meeting, January,
Okay.
and then we can decide the hiring date by February.
I think we're going to want to push it back
Yeah.
further because of the fact that semester time's coming. A lot of those guys aren't going to want to be applying for internship with semester and finals.
You wanna give them January to apply.
We can, and I think you have a good point. However, I know what Jason's gonna say, and I think I agree with Jason even before he says it, is a lot of these that want their internship are gonna be applying in December. They're applying right now.
They're gonna wanna,
Or they're done, and then you have the new batch come in January.
Exactly, so you
That's
got a
what I
little
wanna-
bit. Yep,
well, but then we say, okay, when we hire them, when they start, January, February is a good time, because that's really when the semester's in full swing,
Yeah.
but,
and the only thing that I've talked to this Mark about, as I said, I would return and talk to him back in January sometime and have a good holiday. So there's no push, no rush, and he's just one candidate.
well, then we can wait till February, I'm fine with that, as long as we have, and let's get some hours, ideas, and pay. So, solidify, but yeah, we will wait till February.
And we can nail that down on the 9th.
That's fine, that's fine.
Because it should only take 10-15 minutes to go through those things.
Okay, well then, I guess tell what the accepting applications by February.
I'll have to do it
First.
myself, but basically it's continual until I make any changes on it. So I'll
Yeah.
just,
And
I'll
then
put an
like by February
application deadline.
piece, and we'll review it or something, we need a special group to look at the applications. And that's, Roger, you got anything to add with this, you wanna?
No, I don't.
Well, especially with him being gone in January, so if the deadline's February 1st, then,
Right.
Somebody that's gonna work hand in hand with Roger, I'd like him to be able to look over them too.
I think it's imperative that whoever we hire, he and I go visit Roger and discuss this together.
You have to wait till February, you can't go to some tropical paradise.
I can't go to Hawaii.
Well, you can,
No,
take the
if
vacation,
they
pay for
want
it
to
yourself.
be you guys, you don't go to them.
Sorry, Roger.
Right.
Okay.
But I think if there's other things we have to do, I don't think you need to put a limit on February 1st, if we need more of February either,
Well,
Well,
we can always extend it.
yeah.
Yeah, and the only consideration there I would ask of the council is if it is a student, that they would be on a limited basis, possibly only through May. So we can push it back to whatever, but if it's only a
Until
month,
Roger
2
gets
months,
back, I would think, yeah.
that's
Well,
fine.
and that gives us a chance to see how it works too. I think that would be ideal if we could only make a 3 or 4 month commitment, see how it works and
Like
see
a
if it's
probationary
beneficial.
period.
Mhm.
well, and we could, like I said, we could have this guy come in for so many months, then he's got a reference, then he's got the experience, and by then, it becomes a established internship, if you wanna renew it for the summer, who knows, that might work really well for some students,
Yes, it would.
or for others,
I agree.
so.
6.
Well, next item on here is a public hearing at 8, but we've got little time to get a few other things done before that probably. Want to go to the approval of housing grant claims. 2 of them, one for $6,112 and $725.
I'll make a motion that we approve the one for 725. They have to be done individually.
Okay, I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded to approve the claim for $725.
Yeah, just fine.
Judy,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Jason,
All right,
Grant,
Motion to approve the one for 6112.
second.
okay, motion made and seconded to approve the grant for $6,112. Judy,
Aye.
Joe,
Right.
Jason,
All right.
Grant.
Aye.
All right, those two to approve, and I'll go on to JEO Consulting.
And Bob, you'll have those two forms in front of you to sign before you leave tonight.
Okay. City engineer and street superintendent Terry Mead, what do we need to do with that?
This is a yearly thing that we do. JEO is our consulting engineer firm, city appointed. And each year, in order to receive not only the highway allocation dollars and the street funding, you must have an engineer certified street superintendent, which Terry Mead has been the superintendent for, the engineer for Plainview for many years, has done a good job. So it's more of a formality. We have to renew in order to receive any kind of funding from the state.
Oh, it is a formality.
I'll make a motion and approve Terry Mead as the employee, or
City
JEO
engineer.
superintendent and city engineer.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve JEO city engineer and Terry Mead as superintendent. Judy?
Aye.
Joe?
Right.
Jason?
Aye.
Grant?
Aye.
Let's see, I guess we could, we could take up the garbage service. Think we can get that done.
You have number 8, but I have no problem with going with number 9 first. If you so wish.
15 minutes, what do you think? Or?
Yeah, if you want to do the action of the garbage service, since we got Ron and Jim here, we can get them out the door a little faster. Why don't you take number 9 up first?
Okay. This one.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but it's short. Mike had asked me if my father-in-law Bez was ready to retire. We talked about it, and yeah, we decided that he was gonna pull the pin. Well, get a couple calls from some citizens, and I got 2 valued employees that I'd like to keep on. Mike told me that there is no chance for advancement, for a raise or anything like that with the garbage.
Right now, the way it's set up and the contract ends, and I spoke with Bruce this afternoon and that, but we had set it up so that the budgetary, that the amount that we give, which is $7,800 a month, that is the continued amount. That's what I was basing everything on, that there would be no room to go up on that. It is what it is, without raising tipping fees.
Is the contract for 1 year? Is that what we're talking, contract?
5 years.
It's a 5-year
It has
contract.
been for 5 years at
Yes.
a time.
Is there, since I didn't realize that we had boxed ourselves into not being able to offer him any more if we thought it was justified as far as the budget goes. And I know that there was a lot of discussion at budget time about whether or not we were going to go with the city doing it or him doing it, and he assured us that it could go either way.
And I still.
I didn't realize we were boxed in, and I don't know
How long is
who made the decision that there could be no
It's at a
advancement.
point right now where, and Jim and I would discuss with you in great detail, but at the amount paid per contractor and that, we are at a place where we do not want to see that rise anymore financially. I mean, we're at a point where the city or Jim work as it is, but there's not that growth to go up. I mean, there's just no room for having it go up. We can do it then at a cheaper rate regardless. I mean, we pay $7,800, $800, that's what we discussed at the budget, is keeping it at $7,800 at the very least.
Regardless of who did it.
Yes. And as if you remember right, and like I said, Jim probably remembers this too, we've always kept a local service in place, and when we had 2 or 3 other contractors that, 2 I believe, I don't want to be exaggerating, I think there were 2 other contractors that came in at a cheaper amount. But fairly, I thought, I should have went with the local.
Well, but they
But
wanted
we are
us
at
to
the
start
level.
their business.
What's that?
Those 2 didn't have an established business.
No, one didn't, very much established.
I'm fine with their service.
I am too. Jim and I talked about, it. We're in no argument, Jim and I are in the same boat, but you're asking a different question. Am I ready to say yes to go up on the $7,800? No, I'm not ready. I don't know if we can financially do that.
Well, recognize you have a contract here. If the contract is gonna roll over for one more year or whatever you choose to offer, if they're saying they would like it to roll over and they'll continue at least for a while, arguably you could roll over the contract. I think you could change the term, but you certainly can't change the money. If you're gonna change the money, you need to rebid it. It's a public contract.
When, I'm sorry, when is the contract up?
The contract is up at the end of the year.
December
The
31st.
You're kind of in this position because the contract says there's supposed to be 120 days notice if
We're too
somebody
short.
goes
I
out,
haven't even
and you're
rebid it.
down to 2 weeks.
Oh, no, you can rebid it.
Well, but we're out 120 days, so we'd have to give Jim a contract. I mean, we'd have to, you're not going to.
Well, either that or just say this is still going because the notice has only come. It hasn't been a 120-day notice.
And that's my proposal. What I would do is to keep my employees, and, you know, I'm gonna be eating a little bit, but, if we could carry it on for 2 years, as is, with no raise in tipping fees, no raise, we'd be glad to go that route. So that's my proposal.
Yeah, and gave, the only assurance that I gave Jim is that the budget, which we determined, I didn't look at raising tipping fees anyway. We've raised enough. One of the things we try to keep down, $51 is probably where we want to stay for the time being. We aren't making a huge amount of profit the way it is, and Jim will probably attest he's probably not either. But it's enough to probably do any type of fix-up and things we need to do, repairs, and keep things going at the current level. So I don't have a problem. I'm actually on the same side with Jim.
I make a motion that we accept his offer for the next 24 months.
Second.
For how long?
Next 24 months?
2 years, Jim.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine. You just, everything else will be business as usual, and you'll send out a contract and.
I'll leave that to
Is
the.
there, would it be advantageous if we would have it come due, his contract come due, just renew it for 18 months or whatever it is till the budget year comes up? So we can talk about it at budget time and actually
You
get,
can always talk about it at budget time. We could start bidding it after a year, but to give him 2 years so we have that peace of
no,
mind.
well, or maybe 28
Well, we
months.
both, I mean, everybody does for the
Right.
fact that he's got employees that are counting on it, we
Right.
can't just drop them. So, I mean, it works, we give them 2 years, I mean, now if we're gonna rebid it in 2 years, we'll do it in a year and a half, we'll start
Well,
bidding on
I'm just
it.
wondering if it'd be more, make more sense to do it on a budget year basis instead of a calendar year basis.
No, Judy makes a point, and she makes a good point.
Well, could we discuss it around budget time and still have
You
it?
can always discuss
You know what I mean, like say, okay, well, we know this is coming up, this is what our budget's gonna be, and then,
It's still.
Instead of a
Well,
You
December
need somebody
30th,
to do it for 24 months regardless, right?
right.
instead of a
But
December
then you
31st,
guys, your budget can do, yeah.
what they're saying, Jim, instead of December 31st is Judy's looking at it from the fiscal year of September 30th, making it coincide, and she's got a point, and I'm game either way, but it makes it awkward. Calendar year and fiscal year don't always jive together very well.
Well, we can always plan on bidding it out and then just start at budget time, and then it just ends December 30th, and whoever's in starts January 1st.
Which is
Yeah,
currently
that
what
would
we're
be
doing.
fine, it's fine.
That's, I mean, Judy makes a really good point, so, but
You can still
2
run
years
the
is
bid
nice.
in July.
Right.
Well, and that was my point. He
With
was
a
like,
January
bids are-
start date.
bids are good, let's
That's
set
fine,
the bid
as
for,
long as we do that.
bid's
and
good
we
for
do that.
90 days.
Yeah.
No,
I made it, Grant seconded.
Question I have though, Jim, just on to make sure of that, Ron, are you retiring, or are you gonna stay active and healthy?
No, I'm gonna stay pretty active.
You're gonna stay active?
Very much.
Good.
As active,
I can't retire.
My dog's gotta have something.
My wife said,
Now that's funny.
Understand that, just please understand, there's no argument here other than I want to refer to Bruce. This all, the timing of this, I way this worked in the budget, I could not and I cannot, so I had to plan the budget year on an expectation. The revelation of what this just came out, Jim saw me this morning. Otherwise, if it wouldn't have been this morning, we were already looking on it, just buying the garbage truck. So this just came about. I mean, a change of the way he wants to do it.
I guess to
so.
be honest with you, I guess we've all known that nobody had any of the details on what was going on, but I can't believe we're doing this 2 weeks before the contract's out.
Well, my point is, you're right, I just was kind of blindsided of, we didn't even talk about contract renewals or this or that.
You've actually been aware of this since
Well,
July.
Guys,
But
and
we-
that's a completely separate issue other than
Yeah.
the motion that's on the table.
It is, but
But the transition grant, you've been aware of it since July and August, and Judy's been fighting the good fight since at least August. And our presumption and the assumption was that we were going to take over the city, and there was no doubt. The transition was already in place. Jim and I have already got applications from the employees.
Last month, I was told we're not gonna worry about
Correct.
having our new having a garbage truck.
that's all beside. I guess the biggest thing is we never made a motion that I'm aware of to buy the garbage truck. I mean, we're 2 weeks from it. We didn't have an option. We were past the point that we could, if we would have decided, or you would have decided that you wanted out, we didn't have an option. We were gonna buy a garbage truck as a city. We didn't have an option to bid. So
We would have had
Option
no
to
time
bid what?
for a
another
garbage truck.
carrier.
That was never talked about. That was the one thing that in the budget time, as just a formality, you want to do. If you want to bid out, you need to say you want to bid out, because when we presented the
I
budget.
disagree because we talked about this at the budget meeting. Not one of us was truly set on the city doing the garbage. It was one of those things that, oh, we'll talk about later, we'll talk about later. We never made the decision or made any motions that we were going to get into the business. We talked about it as an option. So,
Well, I think we've got a motion made and seconded. Oh, I'm not really sure who made the motion or who seconded
I
it.
did.
You made the motion.
And I seconded.
Grant seconded.
Okay,
And
24 more months. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
If they vote.
Judy.
They got a vote yet.
Joe.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Yeah. Grant.
I,
Thank you. Motion carried. Julie.
The last one of these was, I believe, printed out in the city office, but not my doing.
Yes,
I
Kurt.
didn't have a copy.
Yeah.
If you've got it on your computer, you can reprint and change the dates as appropriately. You send me a copy. You might also proofread it a little bit, if there's a couple sentences that have 2 or 3 phrases left out, particularly down at the end around term of the contract.
You, Roger.
Yeah, Roger, hold on one second. I have one question for you. I'm sorry, for Bruce's
Okay,
afterwards.
well, you need to finish what you're doing here, but if you're gonna do this, look at the one from 2003 and make all those sentences real sentences. So you're
Well, can't we just get him to fix it?
Shouldn't there be one for 2008?
Yeah, I don't know where this garbage contract for originally resided, so.
Choice of words.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Roger, did you go to that Nebraska Economic Development? What was, you remember I talked about last month? Forwarded you the email.
I think Joe did.
Joe? Roger, you make,
No, I'm not going, Joe is going, no. That's Thursday.
Is it the one coming Thursday? or
that's
is it
what,
the one?
no, it's in December. I was thinking it was real close to
Okay.
now.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
You're going?
Yep.
You're not going? I mean-
Let me relook. I mean, probably not.
If you have an RSVP yet, no.
Okay.
We share information, so, you know.
As long as one of us are back.
We share.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel bombarded by the 2 economic developers daily.
All right. Resolve that question.
Jim, Roger, I did meet the same thing today too.
Do
There's
the
something
manner,
about the tipping.
manner report.
and you're late. We didn't know you were going to be late. We've been sitting here since 7.
Oh, Lori, you're supposed to pass it on. Hopefully that happens.
Too fast. We've got a public hearing at 8.
You got 6
Okay.
minutes, aren't you broken up?
I can do that. The last month's meeting, basically, we just finalized a few things. The activity director position, I did hire that individual. Her name is Melissa Davidson, if you have not met her. She's new to the community also, so that's good. We did our Christmas party last night. We had a great turnout
Where'd you have that at?
at the Legion and Bailey's Cottage.
Really?
Catered it for us. Very nice meal. So very happy about that. We kind of went over our board education, those that attended that night. And then my state survey results that finally showed up. They showed up on November 18th through the 21st. We ended up with 4 tags, just basically nitpicking on things. That plan of correction has to be in by Saturday. So we're really working with the providers because one of the deficiencies was the pharmacy consultant and the providers, like I brought to the attention to the board a couple months ago and to your attention. So we did get tagged finally on it, and it's going to be a tough one to get corrected. Our providers are not on the same page with me on this, but it's really, I understand why they're frustrated. Basically, CMS is trying to tell them how to do their job, that they've done it for 40 years, and trying to tell them how to medicate residents. And unfortunately, we just have to make the change and go with it. Dr. Lucky and I discussed again today, and he's still not in favor by any means, but it's not anything we can do or the state can do. It comes from CMS, so if anybody has the powers to change it, I guess a lot of providers could get together, but that's about it. Just silly little things. It's not in really any health issues or care issues. Those are things that we really focus on if we get care issue. They were not care tags, so we're very happy on that. And then the state fire marshal walks in and we're deficiency free in there, so that was good.
Great.
I hear possibly there were some questions or concerns regarding our health insurance at the last meeting. I did not bid it out to anybody else because every year I do that. I get hounded by the board and by the council to stay local. So we did do that. There wasn't a lot of options for us this year. Besides, we didn't have a great year at all.
Well, I just meant that we could bid it local too.
What?
I just meant we should offer it to all the local agents, just to see what else is out there. Wouldn't hurt.
And most of them, what problem is one person bids it, the next person can bid the same thing. And so then it's just basically who do you allow the commission, to go to. I don't know any otherwise in town that does sell health insurance that we can go through.
Who are you using?
Right now we use Cheryl Bailey with Bush and Rowe. Our other one we used to be with is the Renner Agency with Judy Bauer, and it became an issue being local and not being local, even though I feel that Renner supported her or however that contract was done. But Blue Cross Blue Shield was basically our only option this year. I did talk to Judy on several different approaches or what we could do. We always run out of time. We run out of the percentage and what we were going to do. So the board basically had to up their percentage, dollar amount, not percentage, to contribute this year. And we'll re-look at it next year. But with
I'm just saying
Obamacare,
going forward, it's getting so convoluted now that I think we want to check every possible option that's out there.
I do think we checked, but unfortunately, we're at where we're at, and if Obama decides to get his ducks in a row, then maybe we'll know a little bit more next year. So that's all I have, unless you have any further questions. Your new rates went into last packet. That'll be January 1. I had to do those early so we could put them in the billing on time this time. So they did go a month early out to families, or out on time for families, but a month early to the board.
Any other questions, comments?
2 minutes to spare.
There you go. Yeah, right on time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't have any.
That makes sense.
You do have some.
I do?
Yeah. Brett Mueller and Larry Peterson both agreed to do the tree board again. And, so the only one you have open, we got 2, pool board, you need 1, and park board, 1.
What about housing authority?
That one,
That one can wait as well.
Yeah.
And you do have these appointments, but if you want to appoint your tree board and get Eric Moore and Larry Peterson.
Yeah, that would be fine with me, if that's.
I'll make a motion to approve the tree board nominations of Brent Moeller and Larry Peterson.
Second?
Okay, motion made and second to approve those. Judy?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Grant? Aye. All right, we've got the tree board done then.
Pool board and park board will probably not come next month or in February. These are just more of your awareness. They'll probably be looking at a new member in March. Housing Authority Board, at this time, the renewal person is Keith Nelson, and because of his health, we've just kind of left that alone for right now. It's not a big issue. I'll speak with Keith when the time is right.
What's the housing authority board do again? Is that approve the grants?
They did a lot this last year because of the new grant, but they may not be doing as much now since they've most of that money's been allocated. But that money that came in on the CDBG that you're approving for this housing authority board is the one that needs to look at each application.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Well, I think it's 8 o'clock. Do I have to do your call?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to open the public hearing then?
I think you just did, and I'll second that.
Oh, okay. Motion made and seconded to open the public hearing. Judy?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
All right, public hearing for zone code change to allow accessory buildings and special use permit. I guess that hearing is open. I don't know if anybody here has any particular comments on that? Is anybody interested in it at all?
All right, permit. Anything else?
Let me get you some
You wanna
copies
see it?
and at least pressure the money on what's out there, that's the good one.
That's clean on the
I was gonna suggest none of these on the highway, just in flat out. We don't need any of these big storage buildings on Highway 20 where we're already short of buildings anyway.
I can agree with that. But that would just be, special use permit comes up and they say, I want to put it in Highway 20, they're like, no.
As long as that's in there that they need to consider it when it comes up.
Mike, is that
The bad part about a special use permit is you can approve it with no recommendations too, so
Yeah, but then we can always turn that down too.
you could.
This is the time if you want to, in public input, if you want to add
It's
anything.
gonna depend on the way it's zoned along the highway. I mean, if it's a residential highway or something like that, yeah, I agree.
Well, I would hate for somebody to tear down, say, East End and put up a 150-foot wide storage building
Did you really just say you'd hate to see somebody tear down East End?
and put up a 150-foot
I
wide
would-
storage
I
building,
would
yes.
guess, I would guess because of zoning.
I think
you
it's
already can.
ugly. It's already kind of ugly, but
You already can, as a commercial.
Can't be any worse than it is.
I think.
Knock on wood.
Judy?
Where are you planning to allow them to go?
This would make it so anytime somebody puts one up, they gotta go through the zoning board. As opposed to now where people are just kinda trying to do it.
Let me run through this for you, so you got a little definition of what's written down right now. We changed 3 different areas. The first one is the definition of an accessory structure. This is the proposal that I took back from notes a month ago. It used to say associated with the principal building on the same site. The proposal is that number 2, or on a separate site, not having an owner-occupied principal building with a special use permit. I mean, that's the addition that would pick that up. The section 2 in this write-up sets out those new criteria that were talked about last month, and these are all wide open, but this is the notes I had. 75% of the owners within 100 feet of the property line of the subject property receive a copy and consent in writing. If they do not, this would be denied. That's a mandatory thing, the way we talked about it. And should it be limited to a specific term, should it be perpetual or should it be limited to a certain owner? And that criteria list should be attached by the planning commission when they give you the recommendation. And Mike has given you a cleaner copy for review of what the criteria list would look like. This is turning what's in the zoning book into a checklist. And it says the planning commission will go through this and answer the questions for you. Do they believe all this to be true? Is it gonna fit?
I've got extra too, so.
And then the final thing is, where could it happen? Well, this does not address commercial or highway service at all. This is, commercial and highway service are what they are. So you're doing nothing here that would change that. The print here would say these things could go in residential areas, R1, R2, R3, and R4, by special use permit. There, they were not permitted before. They had to be on the site of a principal structure. Had to be on the owner's property, and that has been your difficulty. So this would open it up and say, you could put these things on vacant lots in residential districts if you jump through all these hoops. That's the essence of what's here. I mean, there is no change to commercial or highway service. It still is what it is.
That might be something we'll have to approach in a separate issue.
I don't, for what reason?
Well, didn't you say you didn't want them going up on highway?
No, that's what he was saying.
I said-
My point is you already can.
You could change commercial or
Well-
highway service if you wanna address that problem directly. But right now, we're not doing anything that affects, not in this order.
This is more based upon your R1, R2,
The-
R3.
The building that Frederick owns now or whatever, that's R1 or that's a residential zoned field. So would this apply to that or not?
Frederick.
Corey?
He doesn't, I don't.
Yeah, he's, but that's, yeah, I understand.
Is
That's
this, I
all
mean,
right.
that's where this whole discussion came from. Is this
Right,
fix
so
his
he can
problem?
figure that out.
That's R1 there?
That's R1.
That's the
Cornfield.
prime property.
Right.
Yeah, it's-
Surrounded by commercial and nonprofit.
I was thinking we rezoned.
What's that?
We didn't rezone that when
Nope.
Pendergast bought it.
That's under
That's
special.
why Pendergrass went through the special. Bruce, could I, just a small, just a type thing change for me, and it's not a major thing, but it could reflect. It's R1, R2, R3, and R5. And I believe that's because R4 was the old, trailer park, and we have no trailer park. And I know that map's probably pretty
You
small.
can't read the map in the book, but let me see what the table
That
says.
needs to be fixed. Do we need to keep that out of the zoning book if there's no longer an R4?
I think we already.
The recommendation on the R4 was to keep it in just in case the world falls apart and you would still have R4 still in your zoning book to take a look at. I mean,
okay.
You
for
could build
future
one.
purposes.
But we wrote it off the map.
We wrote it off the map as well.
Yeah, all right.
So it's my understanding that you could put the machine sheds anywhere in town except along the highway.
If you get 75% of the people within 100 feet of that lot approving it
In writing.
in writing.
And you go through everything on the checklist and the zoning board approves it, and then we have to approve it.
Yeah. So if you got 4 people living within 100 feet and 2 of them say no, it's not getting
They're
built.
done.
I just don't understand why you wanna put them in residential areas when you drive through a lot of the little communities around Plainview, all the way from here to
People are already
Minneapolis
putting
to
them
south.
up. We're just trying to make sure now that there's hoops that they gotta go through before they put them up. Cause we
Case
have,
in point, Jim Kraus put that one up on Reisinger's thing. And he would not have had to go through what he went through if, and I don't think anybody here on the council objects to that being there, except that it was stated in the old ordinance that he couldn't do that because he didn't live on that property. So he had Reisinger's do it. This will allow it if there is permission by all of the parties involved and the council and the planning board allow it.
And for example,
I don't think there was any problem with Jim building it.
Mr. Ford Frederick has explained it. I mean, it's right off that farm field of Southwood Manor. He wanted a lot split because that was going to be his. And we can't allow it with our current zoning. It can't just sit there. I mean, it's in fine shape. We need to take good care of it. So it just needs to be, that would partially is what spurred this also. Now, he's still gonna have to do all these things to get said building, I believe. Is that correct, Bruce?
It'll basically allow for his lot split.
That's a little different
Well,
than building a new one. I mean, the question there is a lot split creating an illegal condition.
right.
So he needs the special use permit for it not to be. an
Yeah, and he
illegal
gets that
condition.
done, talks to what?
And it remains to be seen whether this will happen,
Right.
whether they can get those permissions and so on. Maybe people will object. We'll see. No guarantee to it. But if you want to open the possibility of
gives people the option, you know, some control in the situation. I'll make a
One of the motion aside, one other thing, if you do pass this, this is not something that goes to the state for update, so the retyping of the zoning code, getting all the books fixed, is no small matter. You gotta do that if you pass it. Come back to that, go ahead.
Did you find R5, R4?
The book I have still says R1, R2, R3, R4.
Leave it then, I mean, I'll take a look at the actual zoning ordinance and that, so we can always make minor changes.
Oh, if there's no further.
Project must be served by utilities.
Yeah,
Can't put one up without power. Just a garage.
if it needs power.
No outhouses.
Must be.
And I think there must be,
Whatever.
there must be was two-way street. One, it has to, you're putting it up, you're also putting the liability of the city to have utilities available.
We're gonna have to
So-
put whose responsibility is the pole and the transformer and the meter and the line and the.
That's how it is, no matter if it's a shed or a house or anything.
Right.
Right, and I think that was the same criteria on special use, must be able to be served and
Seems like
almost a.
scam.
Now, if somebody was to put these up, put one up, what control do you have over it? I mean, like if somebody puts one in
We're supposed to have
residential.
control before they
If,
put it up.
if they do a special use permit, they can make any requirements that the council is talking.
You're not seeing it, but I think
You
Mike
can say-
created a
They could say it has
checklist
to
of
be
all these
around.
requirements.
But a special use permit can attach any requirements that they're convinced are necessary. I mean, they could require asphalt shingles, they could require horizontal siding, they could require windows or no windows. I mean, you could require bushes around the front. All of those things can be applied to a special use permit.
One of the most common zoning, probably more unwritten than anything else, is a lot of zoning boards will look at it and it's the aesthetics of the neighborhood. If a neighborhood is full of brick houses, and the zoning board says you're not gonna put a pole shed in the middle of 5 brick houses, you will have a brick building to match the aesthetics. That can be a requirement. That could be something that they absolutely would want to put in, depending on the neighborhood. If it's not required, then maybe it doesn't have to be as stringent. Another one is like height. You cannot put in buildings that do not overmatch. You can't put a 45-foot high Quonset type hut for like equipment and machinery if the whole neighborhood is only 25 foot high. Now, that would exceed the height limit.
And even if it goes through the special use permit, it goes through all the signatures, it goes through the board, it still has to go through us. You have all these layers they're gonna have to go through just to get an okay to build it. And if, let's say you were the only neighbor that had a problem with it, you came to us and said, well, here's why, and you have a really good reason, we can say, you know, it's a really good reason. No special, denied.
Or change the criteria, change what you want them to have.
Brooke, to answer your question about the utilities, the more I get to thinking about it, not always in cases where if we pass this, is it gonna be somebody putting up a new shed? This opens it up for somebody to move in an old garage from off of a farm place sometime. So my thought is by forcing them to take utilities, they're gonna have to invest something into it. There'll be some
It
costs.
also says you have to hook to the sewer if you're within 500 feet.
If you're having a sewer. It says basically
Let's
what
say
that,
if you have a sewer,
basically,
residents within 500 feet must connect to the sewer system. So you're gonna ask them to go drill a sewer line to a garage?
Because they won't have,
Must is very,
it must be available. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's the other way around.
what they're talking about, then if you read it, it's about, basically they're comparing it with the septic system. You can't be within 500 foot of the sewer and put a septic system in. If you're within that 500 foot, you're required to go to the city sewers, the way I read it.
I don't know any R1 that isn't within 500 feet of the public sewer system. But they say forcing people to become a customer of the city of Plainview is a little rough, but whatever.
My thought is if you're gonna put up a shed
Maybe
in
they
a
won't do it.
residential neighborhood.
Maybe they
you better
won't
be
do
able
it
to
then.
give something.
Motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. Judy?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Jason? Aye. Grant? Aye. Well, the public hearing is closed. Do we want to take action on the ordinance? Or there's still some,
I will make a motion to approve ordinance number TBD 2.
I'll second it.
okay, motion made and seconded to approve the ordinance. Joe?
Nay.
Judy?
Aye.
I skipped you, didn't I, Judy? Jason? 141?
I just don't like having them at all in the residential
I
area.
understand. Aye. Okay.
So I realize you guys will pass it, but it's my way of pouting.
Okay. No, I'm used to pouting. So.
You've been consistent about this subject.
I'll go on the record and say I just don't want to hear the zoning board complaining about it again.
Good luck.
I don't think that's gonna stop.
I
The
will
ordinance
back to
has
it.
passed. Do you want to do this waiving the second and third readings?
I think this is something we should let get out and we can discuss it.
Yeah.
further. My opinion.
Yep.
Give it a couple more
I
readings.
agree with it.
All right, the health insurance, was there something about health insurance, discussion action on employee health insurance?
I'll just give you a 5-minute, you can time me update, and I'm asking for a special meeting next Tuesday, if it's possible, at 6 p.m.
On 6 p.m.? Okay.
Damn special meeting.
Honestly, you gotta give them back because it was up to me. I've never, I cannot.
Never satisfied.
I cannot,
Cannot, what can you do?
not them.
What's the date?
Okay, you have a then?
Yeah, I got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday all full.
I would
Leaving.
prefer, a Thursday would
I
work
won't
for
be in
me.
town on Thursday.
Oh. You wanna talk about this? What happened, what are you doing?
If we do it on a Tuesday, can you meet with me, Joe, to be satisfied with what's being presented? Somehow, are you gonna be out of town Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or you will be in town?
I'll be in town Monday, out Tuesday, out Wednesday.
So Monday the 16th.
I will be absent Monday night, I have
Yeah, we
my
have
wife's
some
Christmas
leisure.
party.
When do you have,
We can do a video con.
Where
How
do
long
you
is
have-
this meeting, you expecting it to take?
Everything should be in place, you can't go too many directions, so I'm saying a half hour to 45 minutes at the most. Half hour is what I really
5
expect.
o'clock meeting instead of
On Tuesday,
in whatever day you do it?
well, I can make a 5 o'clock meeting, next week is fine. I prefer not to do it on Tuesdays because I have to get fireman DMT training in. But if we do it at 5 or 6, like, that will work. But if we do this
I
night,
can do 5 Wednesday.
I can't.
I think we're meeting.
I would be on whatever day, I'd just as soon do it at 5 o'clock than 6 o'clock.
hey guys,
That's what I
before
just
I leave
said.
it here.
We put in an extra 20 minutes.
Yeah.
you know, we talked about zoning and that's pretty riveting, so.
Which one are you looking for, Mike?
The fireworks one, I was just gonna give it back to them, but,
You're gonna
here, I got an extra one. Take it back, show them what you know.
Yeah. You guys make good notes
No
of when you can shoot
fireworks
fireworks.
before 8 a.m., got it? Okay.
8:30 though, Star Spangled Banner stuff, right? Okay,
Yeah, but when you get the call from the teacher, they were there till 10:30, really?
that's just weird because the meeting was over by 9:20. Okay, so Wednesday doesn't work, Thursday doesn't work for Judy. Why don't we just meet on Christmas, right?
I got,
You could do Tuesday.
Yeah, I got
I
that
got
off.
Christmas
What
up
was,
too.
what was Tuesday's problem?
Nothing.
Early.
Well, Joe won't be here. Joe was the
No,
problem.
I'll be
He
here.
said he could be here.
I could do 5.
Oh, well then let's do that.
5 o'clock on the 10th.
17th. Today is the 10th.
Oh, yeah. No wonder why it was lit up, huh?
Yeah. I mean, do you want to get the DeLorean out and try for that?
1985.
I have
Wait,
to
wait,
send
wait,
it
if he
to
do it,
him.
if he does,
5
let's give
p.m.
him
the 17th.
the sports results before he goes.
Well, like that's.
Okay, just quickly on that, to sit there, since you used 4 of my minutes there, you know. The reason that you're seeing a delay on this is Judy Bauer is who we work with as a broker. I set this up back, we've started in July, and as most people know that have tried to attempt to do anything with health insurance, it is absolutely a mess right now. I'm working on 5 different insurance companies to be able to present. We're looking at Blue Cross Blue Shield, that is not my preference. Coventry, we're also looking at Assurant and Starmark. We're looking at partially self-funded plans to offset some of the higher increased costs, and I think it'll work. We can't do a fully funded plan. We're not large enough. We can't control the environment of what we're in. There also is a new entity that's come about because of this passage of the Medical Health Act, and it's called Co-Opportunity, I think is the name of the group, and it's kind of a mixture of companies that we'll also have a presentation and a quote from them as well. There's also the last piece of the pie that you look at is if all else fails, because we're a group less than 50, we can offer X amount of dollars to them to go on the exchange themselves, and that may work, but the problem being, you know how people are getting lost in the system. We're going to try to assist and do whatever we can if that's the option that you do choose. And then it would be, if it's done individually, could be subsidized by the fact of their income. In other words, if they're doing this whole thing of insurance based on your income. If you do it through a broker, and I know some people that are already having difficulty with that, that subsidy is not available, and that's, you can't do it.
Well,
And we're gonna hear all this again on the 17th.
Yep, you just got it in a nutshell.
but I want as much information as possible.
I'm gonna try to get everything to you
Just so I
by
can read
Friday.
up on it.
I'd like to have you through the weekend, so you had as much information, because I would hope that you would ask questions, because even some of the plans, like Assurant, will have plan within a plan. You'll have option 1, option 2, and option
So
3.
Friday is Mike's insurance deadline.
Okay. And you're all the insurance agents that work with companies in town, you are giving them a chance to bid?
We have Judy Bauer working with it. The other one to work with that we talked about was Cheryl. That's a whole nother process of bidding. I mean, that's a bidder among a bidder among a bidder. I mean,
Didn't Julene say that she couldn't use Judy Bauer because she wasn't local?
she could, and she did for years. Judy Bauer, they used it as, it was a push come shove for the manor. At that time, the hospital board wanted them to see, and if you remember the compilation of the hospital board, Cheryl was involved with that. Judy Bauer is a local representative of the renter agency.
And that's great, and I still want to give Cheryl an opportunity as well.
Sure.
Yeah,
This may not, it probably won't work this
She can't
year.
compete, she can't compete.
Would you like to have it for next year? We probably won't be able to do it for this year. You're running out of time in December.
Where's that thing? Where did that go?
Can I ask a question here, probably way too dumb? I know Cheryl Bailey is Bush and Row Insurance for health insurance and all those things. Is Madison County Bank going to be insuring people?
Yes.
Are they another local
They're
agent?
independent agencies that are selling insurance.
Yeah, could be.
There's actually 2 Bush and Rose.
Bush and Row Inc. and Bush and Row.
Financial.
Financial, yes.
And they both sell.
Once again, we can't
But they're
do
both
anything
selling
on this
insurance,
tonight.
so
Yes.
there is another person selling.
Might be
insurance.
something that you want to consider down
Yeah.
in the future. However,
That's
for
okay,
Judy Bauer,
I thought that was the way.
she has been the agent for the city for several years.
Trying to get into an Alzheimer's study.
Okay, a guy, I don't know, man. Let's move, let's go.
So health insurance, we've kind of beat that to death, huh?
On the 17th at 5 o'clock.
Let's see, appointments, Keno grant we did, discussion action, electrical ordinance?
What you have that Bruce is gonna pass around, this is a very simple thing. I'm not even gonna ask for passage of it, although it certainly could be, and Bruce might voice with me on that one. This is, the towns around have come to look at underground as a benefit to both the customer and the city. So what a lot of towns are doing is actually paying for the wire and some of the costs involved with that. Plainview is woefully behind the times, and basically this is something for the customer. We're just behind. When it comes to underground, we make customers go ahead and pay for it all. So all I'm asking is that maybe the city would go ahead and help out customers, especially with the new developments proposed in that, to offset some of the costs. We would provide the wire and then take
You
over.
got two things that came down. The first on rental units was carried over from last month. It was in last month's minutes. We would have something on electrical here. They didn't really list it specifically, but that's a revision to the electrical ordinances also. What Mike was talking about is capturing the electrical system installation expense. That's the one he was just going off on at the moment. And what we have added there, or Mike is proposing you add, is the underground paragraph number 5. Most of it already said, we'll bring you stuff to the meter loop. The old versions all said, if you want underground, you pay for all of any additional expense. And this one says, if the consumer requests underground, the city will furnish the needed underground wire, max 200 amp capacity to the meter loop. And then I salvage the rest of the language. The consumer shall be required to pay any other costs incurred, which would be in addition to the cost of above ground. Because the old default position was, city would furnish the wire, hang the poles, string it in. The underground wire is a little higher price.
What's that cost?
Yeah, one of the things that, and Grant will probably be more familiar than I am, but the cost of the 4-aught and going underground is a little more.
Well, I realize it's more, I'm just asking what's it cost for, like,
The power wire itself,
yeah,
I would
and
guess
that amp.
probably a couple bucks a foot, $3 a foot tops.
And overhead right now is what?
Half.
You know, probably half.
Well, if you subsidize the underground, you're picking up more expense there, but it is more and more common. And it saves you long-term maintenance.
You are, but.
You are, but you're not, because of the fact that if you're needing to set a pole and run in the aerial wire and the maintenance and stuff in the long run, you'll probably save, just because your maintenance and upkeep.
We haven't really talked about this one though before, but
No, that's just absolutely correct.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass the utilities generally rental
Yeah, the
units
rental unit thing,
at TBD 3.
right. I've added that last sentence to B. And however, in case the occupant is not the owner, any deposit will be held until service is satisfactorily terminated. No early refund shall apply.
Correct.
That's all we've done there. We just added that. That'll probably cause some rental association in Lincoln to come in and tell us we're discriminating against renters. But
It's a good way to promote Plainview.
yeah,
You're saying that falls under 12?
What?
You're saying that falls under 12?
well, yeah, it's a revision to the electrical ordinance.
Uh-huh.
Best I could do.
Our
That's all we
attorney
put on
says
the
yes, so
agenda.
I agree with him.
That's close enough, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, last month's minutes very clearly said this topic will be taken up next month.
Right, and we got nothing on it.
That squeezes it in if you want to squeeze it in.
Okay.
The other revision to the electrical ordinance is Mike's issue on the underground wire.
But you also have policies in place that help protect.
It would probably be better, as Brooke seems to be pointing out, to be more specific with his agenda item. But by the time I get the agenda.
This was yeah, there's no doubt that this was an agenda that was put together on a later basis.
Well, guys, I got no problem when it says discussion, but when it says action and it's something that we haven't seen or talked about yet, I don't think that's fair to everybody.
We just put that in discussion/action, and you have every right to,
We can table this topic.
absolutely.
So once again, I get a motion for TBD 3.
Is there a second on that motion?
To pass the ordinance on the rental unit.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the ordinance relating to the rental units. Judy?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Grant? Aye. That ordinance is passed. Does somebody want to waive a reading?
Motion to waive the second and third.
Anybody to second that?
We talked about it
I'll
for
second.
3 months.
I know.
All right, motion made and seconded to waive the second and third readings on the ordinance. Judy?
Aye.
Joe?
Right.
Jason?
Nay.
Grant? Aye. With that, we have adopted that ordinance. Someday we will get it numbered.
We will table this one.
Yeah.
If
table-
that's
table
my
the other
request.
one.
You have talked to other cities and this is how they're doing it.
In fact, some are doing, it's just protection, as you probably well
It
know.
makes sense.
Yeah, I don't
It's not one
have
that
any
came out
problem
of
with
the-
it, but let's just.
No, and it just came up, so it's
Are
one of
we-
those
are
things
we
I
re-
wanted you to look at.
Are we requiring them to do underground?
Nope.
But if they choose, it's on the.
Different question.
Right.
Different question, different time, right now, we have both options.
Is there,
Do you,
So you're just gonna record that as tabled and get it on for next month?
right, you got the memos. Do we
Would
wanna
it, would it
add?
be all right to not convolute it, to take a look at it? You could go ahead and, once again, look at it on the 17th? Would that give you enough time? It's a, and I'm not trying to make it out, it's, I want you to look at it, but really, it's a no-brainer.
I wanna have that for a month, cause like I said, I think there's other discussions that need to happen with
Right,
this.
like the
Wait on it.
requiring of making them underground?
I think, I don't wanna touch, I want the
No.
temple.
Okay, I didn't know, is it, I kind of,
I was just asking the way it
I'm
was
not
set up
saying
now.
that's a bad idea,
okay, well,
No, but
but I don't wanna make that decision in 6 days.
Yeah.
either. So, we'll talk about it next month.
We, 13 then, city attorney comments, is that where we're at?
I don't have anything else.
Administrators' comments? Action on holiday cash for employees?
I don't have anything except for that as a continuity of policy in December, if that would be all right to set that out and we do it in pound cash form to support local.
I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded to approve the action on holiday cash for employees. Judy?
aye.
Joe?
Right.
Jason?
Aye.
Grant? Aye. I think that's passed. Something else for administrator comments?
Well,
Got
sure,
the,
kind of-
payroll sheets, she only gave us through the 24th. Usually we get the full month, and on the police, we didn't get anything in November, we just got October.
Okay, I'll get that for you. I don't know why you wouldn't have gotten
Yeah, it was weird.
weird, because we would have normally got November's in.
I talked to her last month about what we were getting, and she'd actually given us something and she can better explain it, I'm sure, tell you what it was, but what we were getting was a month behind already,
Right.
so she was trying to catch it up, I think. I don't know whether she got it accomplished.
It's
That's
tricky, it's
strange
tricky to
that we
compare
got
if you can't
employees
compare,
For November.
can't compare expenses to
just-
payroll stuff.
Yeah, Police are
Previous
first line
contracts.
guys, yeah.
Just a suggestion relative to council comments, Mike, for discussion, next month will be the December on the police report. You brought up the question of things showing up in large quantities on the police report. I mean, I could not find, or I would have brought along and mentioned or offered to you, last year's year-end police report. I don't know if anybody can, but it might be well to get that out to compare and have some discussion on what's going on.
Should
And I
have,
flipped
That was the
through
first
this.
month I was on.
This report shows so far, 5 arrests, 4 fraud, 5 hit and runs, motor vehicle theft.
You should have the
19
previous
thefts,
years on the bottom.
11 vandalisms.
Yeah. And how many tickets, how many prosecutions?
How many solved? And I think you need to have that conversation, but look at last year maybe, if you can find last year's, I don't have it.
So throw those numbers down there, but we're actually at 70% of what we had in 2012.
You're right, I'm sorry, the summary is there if that correctly tracks the previous years, you're right about that. But it still begs the question.
Sure,
Are
what's
any-
all?
Reporting to you, how many phone calls we got is not particularly a useful device.
Mike, would you kind of let him know and kind of give us maybe a more detailed report
The
next
county
month?
attorney has some really good information about prosecutions for crimes that are filed with the county attorney, and that's what he's concerned about. And basically, there's none from Plainview, never is, so.
But this year,
And I'm sure that hasn't
hasn't gone
changed.
up.
Oh, I haven't asked him yet, but I'm gonna find out.
Well, because I believe personally that Tyler has been doing an exemplary job.
He has,
Well,
but he gets beat down pretty bad by Bruce and Jerry, because they basically do nothing and.
Guys, I
it
think
looks
we're
like-
into a whole area that, if we're gonna have this discussion, let's have
We
it
should
with
have
the police chief.
exactly. I
After
agree.
he leaves.
Absolutely. Come on, Joe, they can't yell at you if they're not here.
I've had several, are we into council comments now? I've had-
Judy, you go right on it.
I'm going to. I've had several comments on the garage that was put up next block over from me, Mr. Yostin's blue garage, metal garage. And I don't think there's anything that he did wrong.
Right.
But I've had a lot of people say, can we keep those kind of buildings from going up in neighborhoods where there's no other,
You know that
We
whole
just
zone
passed
thing we
it.
just passed?
I wanted to do it separately.
But it was on his lot.
I know it was on his lot.
So
Yeah,
Nothing you can do.
yeah, I mean, everything,
If,
once again, it
some
was-
of the people that talk to me would like to see something go into the zone where you have to,
We just did.
well,
No.
yeah,
Would this be more of impossible? The question is, should you be able to do it at all? Even on your own
I
property?
had comments when it's a very nice building that the lady put up, down by Jack Ducrass and that, on the corner lot. It is a nice, but some people didn't like it. It's too tall, it's a metal building, the rest of the buildings around it are all thick and whatever. I just didn't know whether there was any other feeling, if anybody else was getting any news
fair
from
discussion. I believe it is a fair discussion that we're not gonna solve right now.
but I do think it's fair. I do think that,
we just
yeah,
passed,
yeah.
we just passed one saying we're allowing more. I think Bruce hit it in the head.
Oh, I don't think Bruce did anything wrong at all. I'm not
No,
saying,
That
I
one,
just
the
heard
other
that-
one.
There's
No,
also a big
Bruce
difference
Yostin had it on his garage. I
for
think
a
he was
garage on your own property and
perfectly within his rights to
12-foot
do that.
roll-up door down here that nobody's complaining about yet.
Well, I had people who complained to me about Mark
Really?
Hubbard putting in that,
Our codes are pretty loose when it's your own ground.
They're complaining.
Oh, yeah, it's been complaining about.
I think if it's your own property.
I didn't know whether there was any.
Here, I'll tell you what, to sum it up in it real quickly, is the zoning as it is much, probably more lenient on someone who wants to build an accessory structure next to their principal building, and it certainly has done everything fine. You have just passed now tonight something that I think will make that, it'll be harder and tougher to put up anything of any, if you try to put up a metal building, something would be what you passed tonight, it won't happen. But it's a lot easier to do it if you already own your principal, and if I've got a lot next door. So I will bring it back to the zoning to see, maybe we should tighten up the requirements for accessory structures next to a principal place with some more aesthetic value. In other words, if you've got a wood stick house, maybe a wood stick.
Just incorporate the
That's-
same check sheet that you did for the other.
I agree. I'll take it back to the zoning.
I know,
Well, in that
it's
case-
it's food for thought. I wasn't
No,
looking for
no, no,
anything
it's,
to get done or
it's,
anything, but I just wanted you to know that people had talked to me different times about, and la with this new one.
Oh, it's a good point.
When are,
Still in council comments?
yeah, go ahead.
The light on the east side of the high school's out. They had a performance tonight, that's kind of embarrassing.
Yes, it is.
The one southeast corner of the hospital on Calhoun-East.
On
Northwest
Cal's.
corner is out, across from Kurt.
And east side of the high school. We are aware of this one at all, on the east side?
No,
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
It's been a couple of days.
The Christmas lights up and down Main Street, we have two different varieties of snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be nice to alternate on each side of the street every other one, rather than have all
And they
of
usually
one
do
kind on
that.
one side, all of the other kind on the other side in the future.
If you think ours look bad, though, go look at Pierce's. Ours look really good.
If you think ours look good, go look at Creek.
Really?
Touche.
Or do you-
Yeah, don't get up that way.
What's
I never used it when I was around today.
Not a lot of.
It was kind of weird. It was on balance.
You can't.
I really wish you were.
There are a lot of Christmas lights out there, and yes, I'm glad they're up, but yes, that's a well,
I'm sorry, Jason.
good suggestion.
It's, was it, forms, explain to me real election forms. They are
at the
there.
city office.
They're there now.
Yeah.
Is there one, because that started December 1st when that opened up, so we need to, I mean, I know it's the 10th, so. And I will put it off and put it on, I plan on, running for something.
You have till,
You running again?
February 1st.
Fire gun run like
I
hell.
don't think so. The end. Like, I know, how this stuff can creep up on you, I know how busy you can get, but I encourage you to work a lot harder. I saw,
which one?
well, just on things that are coming up that we may need to know, the garbage thing. I felt I mean, I know you kind of talked about it, but I still felt completely unprepared to even discuss it.
I don't think we all realized that the 5-year contract was up.
I did not
knew
realize
the
that.
yearly contract was up. I didn't realize it was a 5-year and then.
We have this employee health insurance thing coming up, which I believe you will get us to by Friday. But very big decisions, and when I get blindsided by things, I dig my heels in when I'm not
The
ready.
health insurance was, I started working on the health insurance probably before anybody else in this town back in June.
And that's good,
I was
and
just
that's
gonna
great.
say, it was at least June. when
And
we
you've
had
been warning us
conversations
about this for over a year.
Here's the difference, just to let you know, I mean, just real quickly. It's better to go to, I know when I say quickly, to December 17th, it's actually better to do that and hold off until the last second, because the alternative is, I could have said,
Mandate.
go with Blue Cross Blue Shield and take the increase, and let's just increase the amount of contributors and the employees, and just don't fight the fight. And this way, you're gonna go see, I'm actually trying to fight the fight, and I sometimes feel like the insurance companies are beating me to death.
I don't blame you, they're beating everyone.
How bad can this Obamacare thing be? Like,
Really
come
bad.
on.
Really
It's
bad.
affordable healthcare. I know.
No, not yet.
Community,
Not yet, not
community
yet.
comment. Oh, darn it.
Anybody want to go first?
I am concerned, we had a trial, and that was not even mentioned tonight.
It's not something we can discuss, or the people that were there certainly can't discuss it. The comments that were made online, and Mike can attest to this, he got a cease and desist letter from the attorney.
And an apology on the same day.
Okay.
So it's really nothing that any of us can talk about. I mean, it is what it is at that point. We can talk about the things that led up to that.
I mean, we have, obviously, we've already spent thousands of dollars on audits and computer, forensic, what did you describe it as?
Forensic audit.
To get the, just to get the, what the heck am I trying to say, the transcripts from the court, from the trial, just to get us the information on what was discussed, things like that.
Or is the city getting the transcripts?
It's $3.25 a page, and it's 2,000 pages. And I'm not willing to spend $8,000, $9,000 to find out. We have made changes to multitudes of how we do things. We've had special audits with this. Help me out, guys.
Well, the one thing, I mean, it's, we talked, I went down and I talked with the people at the office and stuff. The trial part of it is done. There's nothing we can do about that at this point. It's water under the bridge. One thing I've talked to him about is, I guess, where I'm new on the council, or the newest on the council, I guess my thought is I can say is, my job is to make sure the procedures from here on, moving forward, are followed like they're recommended. And even if that means having a third-party auditor, I guess, and I don't even want to stir this one up tonight, come in, not our auditor that does our actual audit, but a third party come in, do everything from look at day-to-day policy, make recommendations of, we recommend you change this, we
Okay,
recommend.
recommendations are fine, but not if they're followed through.
Exactly.
I mean, that would be the concern. I mean, I would just ask, Patsy, the same as anybody else, if you have the concern, I'm okay with that, I really am, but The concern has to be what? I mean, where does that lie? I mean, the concern is with what, whom, where, why? I mean, is it, that's probably, what is the concern?
The concern is with the whole city office, the way it was handled initially,
It was handled properly.
without a law enforcement officer at the.
Yep.
If you have,
I even talked to Dave Domina about that, and he actually said it was handled properly.
I guess I have a problem with that. I guess if I have a theft at my house, I call law, not a private meeting.
Well,
Private meeting? What private meeting? No, no, it's fair, it's fair, and I think this is something, this is
Private
fair.
meeting that was held in your office,
With whom?
the current mayor at that time, and
Correct.
Nancy and Lori and you.
Correct? And what was the concern we had at the time?
What I heard the next day was that there was money missing.
And it's fair, I think these concerns, and I think this is appropriate, and an appropriate place, and I'm
No,
not
that's
trying to
fine.
mince words. The meeting that was held, which was in the court transcripts, and which I can talk about, is that there was a discrepancy in the books, and there was money, and at that time, not a very large amount, but there was something wrong. We knew there was something wrong. Maybe $1,800 to $1,900 was off, and that was not kosher. As an administrator, I had to take the initial steps. It was not a theft. It was never considered a theft in that meeting, but there was an issue. There was a problem. And the only link we could take in that, why we even ended up calling the mayor in, is, and eventually talking to our lawyer, is what do we do? How do we handle this the correct way? No, it is not the correct way, regardless of what the folks around many different places say, to have the state patrol or a law enforcement officer come in right away. No, that was not the correct procedure. Okay, the law enforcement was brought in, immediately on Monday, as well as taking care of what we had to contact a special audit and go right to the council. And this was on advice from the mayor and advice from the attorney.
I guess I would have felt more comfortable if the city office would have suspended themselves at that
Why?
time.
Why?
well,
Why?
No, and this is
Why?
this is a good question. I mean, I'm just
Because
going
at
to try to
that
do
time, you
factual.
really- You had no idea
No, we did.
who
We did.
you did.
Because we had a linkage in place. Now, whether we were accusing or not was never the situation. We had a linkage to a potential setup on a computer. That's all. And knowing that that was the linkage, never at any time did the administration and myself say that I was accusing Lori or Nancy, because it wasn't there. It wasn't adding up. So simply, we had to make a decision based on the best interest of the city. What the attorneys have told me and what the law enforcement has told me, you don't necessarily, unless you have a widespread corruption, suspend business as is. The idea of taking a city down and suspending everyone and go on this crisis mode was not needed. It really wasn't. And I've been told time and time again that the procedure that I used was proper. Because I asked that because it was a fear I had. I don't want to be a scapegoat for any community. I want to do what's in the best interest of the city and the community. And I was told I did the right thing over and over again. I've never once been told by Jeremy Hampton, which I can that anything was done wrong.
Okay.
Which is sad that it gets out there, and I understand that. The sad part is when things get out that are not factual for 4 years, and Brooke can attest to this too, is that for 3.5 to 4 years, there is no allowance to say anything. We were under investigation during that whole time. Up until the trial, we were still under investigation. The external audits were performed by this council admirably, maybe with a little bit, tongue-in-cheek about the amount of money, but they did everything they could do to sit there and find out answers. When the realization came, there was no answers. They could not find it after $20,000 worth of combined auditing to find out what. I mean, and like I said, I understand the concerns, but I think some of the concerns are, in a public, when you want to sit there and go forward with it, vindictive. And you want the best for your town. You want the best for the community. Is it right for me to say, okay, now do we sit there and look at this as one's done, let's go after another? No, there was never that thought in mind. The city of Plainview was never on trial in this whole case. However, if you want to know the truth, there were several victims. Several. And that's about all I can say.
I can say the whole town of Plainview, because we're all taxpayers.
Absolutely.
We all pay our bills down there.
I am too. I am too, just like you. I'm a taxpayer just like you. And believe me, that was a big concern.
Answers, so.
What's that?
I said without real answers.
And I'm not so sure at this stage of the game where you're going to find those answers that you're seeking in black and white.
Okay.
If I said anything wrong, counsel.
I think she's just, we've said plenty. We don't need to go into, people and places, not in a public meeting.
Correct.
My only concern is what I ask this at every meeting I go to, what are you going to do next? There is no next. I need to know so I can tell people what is next. Is there next? Is there no next? I mean, that's what people want to know now. What do you mean yet? What is there yet? The case is over.
And it's shocking.
The person should, that's not the question. The question is what's next? Or is there a next?
We don't know yet.
What's it going to take?
I don't know. Time.
To do what?
Figure out what the next move
It's
is.
been 4
Do you have any
years.
suggestions? I mean, rather than just throwing barbs, do you have suggestions?
It's not barbs. I'm asking a question. I just want to know what's next. Ask the same thing at the library.
I've showed my hand. I mean, I guess my thought is, from now, I'd like to have a third party. We've had other auditors and everything come in. I want to see, and I mean, this is something that we'll probably do before too long, if it's up to me, is have somebody come in and actually audit our procedures. We know the numbers work. We can
We
figure
had that
that out.
done. Palmer
We've
did
had
that.
done multiple
A year ago.
Well, but no, we haven't, because when I
And there were
started,
changes made.
when I started, well, there have been changes made, but are there other changes?
You will continue the conversation, and not that I disagree, but 3.5, 4 years later, one of the things that I know is, and I can tell you that Mr. Domina said this very clearly, and he would not be offended if I said this, but he said, it's got to end.
Could you repeat that? I did not hear that.
Domina, when he sat there in the closing arguments, he very simply said to everybody involved, this has got to end. This has
Well, he
got to
also
end.
said if you acquit, we can all have a Merry Christmas.
Yes, he also said that a not guilty verdict would make everybody happy.
Yeah.
My biggest concern was that it wasn't even on, I mean, this is the biggest thing to happen in 4 years, and it wasn't even on here for discussion, whether it be executive session or not. That kind of surprised me. That was my concern. I don't care about the verdict. I don't care what, I mean, I like to be able to tell people what the council is intending to do now, and it wasn't even on here for discussion. I agree, the city was not on trial, no one else, it's not a witch hunt, all that good stuff.
Well, since we're not allowed to talk,
What not? It's a public
Before-
court,
It's just
and it's
like
over.
you guys are-
What are you
No,
not
I mean,
allowed
we
to
weren't
talk
allowed
about?
to talk
Underneath
about
the
it till
carpet and it's
tonight.
gone.
You can't
It's
talk
not
about
gonna go away.
people. I'm not asking you to talk about people. I'm asking what the city's step. I mean, is it just gone? I mean, if that's the answer, that's the answer. Somebody swallow it and just say it. I don't know. I don't get to make the
It's not
decisions.
gonna go away though, Brooke. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to know.
Well, they want to know what's next.
You know,
right?
what's gonna happen next.
Or is there a
That's-
next?
That's the whole
once
thing.
again.
And the
I
fact
don't
that
think- I don't
nobody
think-
is
I don't think
nobody's
we-
considered that.
I don't know. I don't think we know yet because we're in the process of how many thousands of dollars have we spent chasing the 55? I'm not sure that there's any next that's going to take us anywhere. And until we have time to figure that out, I'm not going to rush out and go, hey, we're done. And I'm not going to rush out and say, we don't know where it is, we'll never find it. That may be the case, I don't know. But I don't know that we've explored every option yet.
Well, the prosecution is over. I mean, there's no more of that to be done.
After the
Did I say
after the
prosecute? I never
investigation,
said
I mean,
prosecute.
if there was a next, and I guess if I knew the next, or the state patrol knew the next, there would be something happening now.
Well, that's what interests me the most is that there is There's no next or there's no
So
stop.
I guess my question is.
Nobody's considered it?
I agree with you. I just feel like it just kind of went
No, I
away,
think
and
we
now we
both
have no
considered
idea where it went. But I'm not honestly sure if there is next step, what is it? Because my thought is, if somebody was gonna pursue it, the state patrol would be pounding on the door, because after all the numbers.
They made that point in the opening comments, that the investigation's over. There's no more, there's no more
So
investigation, no more investigating to do, there's no more fingers to point, there's no more nothing. The available option was prosecuted and found not guilty, it's what it was. I'm
Yeah,
just
but they
interested.
still haven't found it all.
I'm
I
just,
mean,
Do you
we
think
only
they-
prosecuted somebody for $3,000 and
it's
50
it's
some.
been 4 years, they've investigated everything there is to
The
investigate.
investigation is over because they've gone through their resources. But don't you think if they would have found somebody other than the one that everybody was suspecting, it would have been brought up by now, honestly? The state patrol is just gonna go, well, it's not the suspect, so therefore it just didn't happen. No, they're gonna pursue
Is the
them
state
all
patrol
on.
pursuing anything else? Is the county attorney pursuing anything else? Is it available to pursue anything else? Is there I've been asked all these questions. Is there a statute of limitations is now over? Are we done? What is the,
Those are all great questions for Berlin.
and I don't, that's the buck to
You
be
can't
passed.
ask us questions about Berlin. I don't know what the statute of limitations are. I don't know if Berlin's got another lawsuit planned.
It
I don't know
amazes
if the
me
state
that
patrol's
everybody around here claims no responsibility for any of it. Less than 6 months ago, you guys were all chomping at the bit, and a year ago, chomping at the bit saying, why isn't Berlin doing anything, make him do something, somebody, good God, call him and make him do something, and now it's just nothing? It interests
I
me.
thought there was a trial.
Yeah,
There
what-
was a
What do you
trial.
mean he didn't do anything?
Yeah, I think he did do something.
No, what I'm saying
He
is,
didn't win.
if you're
He did
putting
do
it on Verlin,
No,
His
you were
part is
asking
done.
us questions, what's Berlin's next move? What's the
no,
state-
not
yeah,
Verlin's
already.
next move. I'm asking your next move. Verlin's
Well,
part is done.
The thing is,
He prosecuted everything he was going to
what needs to
prosecute.
be done, timing of the accounting system, we've done that. We've had these audits, but we didn't inform them we're coming
I
up.
talked with Mike about this before. With no conviction, one way or the other, you still have this really bad violation of the public trust somehow that has to be repaired,
So what's the next
or you're
step?
never going to get past it.
So what's the next step to fix that?
Okay, well,
I do this frequently. That's
I
not
mean,
my
are we
problem.
going?
Well, but no,
If it was
you're
my
looking for
problem,
the
I'd be sitting in
answer,
your chair.
If you're, if
So-
you're looking for the answer, what do you, if you think we're gonna clear out all the employees in the city office, that's not gonna happen.
I don't know why you're even
If that was
assuming
what's
that.
supposed, no, I'm not, I'm telling you.
But the
what my
issue
stance
is, my
because I don't-
concern is it wasn't on the agenda at all, and apparently nobody has thought about it past a year ago starting the court
No,
case.
see, once again, you can't make those assumptions because you don't know the conversations that we've had. I care about it. I
Do
know
you have a
everybody else
decision?
cares
If
about
we
it.
have nothing to give.
There's no
There's
executive.
nothing to put on the agenda.
There's no executive session for you guys to discuss what's
Not
next.
yet,
There's
not
no
until we,
nothing.
not until we find out if we have any other recourse, bud. I'm not gonna have an executive session and go, guess what, we don't know anything, all we know is the verdict. The verdict just got handed down last week. Everybody hasn't had time to react to it yet.
The other one I had was of the same vein. You have a library board fully intending to build $1.5 million library before February when the CDBG grant application is open, and they don't know what they're doing. And it's not on the agenda, and they're not coming to the meetings, and you people haven't got to see the floor plan because none of you were at the meeting. And nobody came to the open house to talk. They moved around that floor plan the whole night and changed things and added things and subtracted things, and looking at a floor plan is not the same as seeing everything that's in there. And it's $1.5 million project now. By the time you get furnishings and carpet and all the stuff that goes in there, and they're fully intending to have that bond issue for their plan on the ballot in May. That means they have to have it done by March, just like you do.
I would say, Brooke, in all fairness to the board, it's just a goal. It's a goal, and I can't blame them. They stalled on that for 10
The
years.
financial plan that I was presented at the meeting was pretty specific.
They have their ducks in
And
a
it
row.
came
yes.
right out, and I asked these same questions to them, which was, you do realize the CDBG grant application is a couple hundred pages of preparation, and you have until March.
And guess who's
And it
probably
hasn't
gonna be
started.
spending some sleepless nights.
And it hasn't started yet.
Let's have an Melissa, right now, I would prefer on the next agenda to have an update / discussion on the library, construction library, because that's important.
That's something to work on.
Well, I mean, they're also looking for $100,000, and they need that before they can apply for the grant. I mean, I just feel like, did you read the story that I wrote? I'm not here to kibitz you about the newspaper, but none of you were at the meeting where they talked about all this. Well, Judy was there, obviously, because she had the financial stuff. But, I mean, you're easily into $1.5 million right now on this library.
Judy, you got anything to add to that, or?
I don't know where he got his other $500,000.
With furnishings.
Furnishings are not going to cost, I don't think, $500,000, but it doesn't make any difference. I think probably a lot of the responsibility falls on the board determining how they're going to go about getting some person or people to donate money towards the building of that facility. I don't know whether they have any hint at all on what they're going to do.
Well, their plan is to place a bond issue on the ballot.
Well, you can plan all they want.
That's it. I mean, they can plan.
Well,
Okay.
we need to be aware that
They have the right to plan as a library board.
And we can.
We should be notified of it.
But they still have the right to plan and notify you at the same time. They haven't done anything wrong.
No,
The reason they're looking at that amount of
This
money
isn't
to
news to
raise yet
I
is
didn't say they did
because
anything wrong.
my wife's on the board.
What I'm saying is I'm amazed it's not being talked about, and you have 6 months.
that there is a possibility out there that the city could bond the building of this and the furnishings of it and pay it themselves with the $30,000 that we get every year or whatever it is, plus whatever else it's going to cost the city. That's a possibility. It's just like you do it with a pool.
Does it have to
We
be
have to
through
raise
public
taxes.
vote?
We'd have to what?
Does it have to be by public vote?
Yeah.
So you have until March.
Yes.
Or
And
till
they can do that.
July.
They need to figure out what they're going to have to ask for.
Okay. I'm amazed the stuff isn't on the agenda recurring.
I don't know what they would have that they haven't already done. And like I said, I understand somewhat where you're coming from, but in sticking up, I go to the library board meeting, and I've actually advised them, you gotta set a plan in action. They set for 10 years, and they know this. If they don't sit there and at least have a goal to shoot for the May primary, then, that's all they're gonna shoot for. They don't have their funding in place. They haven't applied for the.
We talked for an hour and a half at that meeting, and I said, okay, what are you doing now? And they went, Jeez. Okay, I would just as soon have a new library, that's me, but.
Brooke, they actually used and I'm giving you thanks where.
I don't need it, I'm not asking for that.
But you should, in some ways, at least accept it as a person of integrity. You gave them the Atkinson, almost like a little blueprint. They took that the last meeting and they broke it down. And they broke it down to what did they see Atkinson did well and tried to figure out how to form committees. All they can do is go forward with what they have. What they have is an engineer and a plan in place to make it go forward. They've been to the council several times. They've actually tried to sit there and talk to them. And I think that most of the council is fully aware, at least with it.
Then but do the timeline. This is what I did at the meeting too. If you don't make the February CDBG deadline, the plan is off until next year's February CDBG plan. Then you have to have a special election because that's not a normal election year, if you want it done in that year. So now you're 2 years out, or one, depending on how you do your calendar.
You were just bitching and moaning they were going to spend $1.5 million, and now all of a sudden you're in a hurry.
I want the new library to be built. What really irritated me the most is that one person came to the public meeting. It really bothered me, and it bothered the board too. I mean, you're talking about a huge structure, and I took it as they haven't been here enough pushing this to you to get this finished. Is why nobody.
Well, I apologize for not attending.
My
wife's on the library board. I get all the information and I support what they're doing.
That's not the same as you going to see what the library
You're absolutely
looks
right.
like.
You're absolutely right.
You gotta see what it looks like. It's not, I hate to say it, but it's not a safe building.
And my concern on the building was I threw out the suggestion that you can currently do it if you cut off the community room, and they don't want to do that. You could build what you have now with the money you have now if you have this community room.
Right.
So it's gonna come to you guys, and they're gonna say, here's our $1 million library, 1 million.
With a full kitchen and dining room.
If you don't change the blueprint now, you can't change it after you apply for the CDBG money. I mean, you need to change it now. So
And they're planning on, I know they're planning to have a second input for the public. Whether you have 15 people show up or not, I don't know. But I suggested them to do that because it was a blizzardy condition. Give them a chance.
they agreed not to have another meeting. It was just email down if you had a question.
No,
Because the
they're
board
gonna-
decided not to have another one.
They're gonna have another one.
Maybe they will. I don't think they know, though. You guys know things that they don't know, as in the CDBG grant deadlines in February, how far ahead of the ballot to put it on. If they can't even go for the general election if they don't get it on, if they don't apply for the CDBG money now. I don't know when the award is. Is it in March? I don't remember when the
Sometime in
award
summer
for the
months.
money is. That's assuming they get it.
But there's also, I mean, they do know there's 3 or 4 different avenues. There's also a CDA, Community Development Assistance Act grant that's out there. That's what Atkinson got the majority of theirs on. Well, I shouldn't say majority, a good portion, a good chunk. You know, so there's other grants that they're looking at. You can't rely on just one. CDBG is a good source.
Well,
You know, Atkinson didn't use
We
the
also
lead.
talked at that meeting about double committing your grant money, which for some reason was a funny solution. It was a funny problem that they hadn't discovered yet.
They
But
just
it's-
don't understand the
Well,
way.
that's what I'm saying is if you want to get this done, you're going to have to get after it. And I would like to see it done. That's why I even brought it up. Whether it's a $500,000 library or an $800,000 library or $1.5 million library, whatever it is. It's been 20 years or something ridiculous.
And right now, they believe, and I believe with them, that they're moving at lightning speed. I really do. I
Well,
haven't seen them move this
And
fast
I
in
ask,
10 years.
I ask questions like, when you tell the state you're going to end up vacating this building up here, are you going to be able to get rid of it with no shingles and crummy windows? Or is the historical society guy going to come by and say, no, you got to dump $200,000 into this today because you're letting it become decrepit? I mean, somebody needs to do that stuff and make those phone calls and get after that stuff. I can do it, but then everybody gets mad at me. So.
I've already contacted the State Historical Society, so.
The thing I really wanted to bring up was, can we get wires across the main intersection and hang Christmas lights across the main intersection up there? Not now, not this year, but there's hooks on the buildings. I was wondering if we could get some wires to go across there and then buy stuff and hang something in the middle and make it look nice. If the parade lights is going to keep going, that would be neat. That's the easy one.
I think we can do that.
Just out of curiosity, the lights came on early today? The street lights? Was there
I
a
didn't know,
reason?
they might have, I don't know. If
I
they
mean,
were-
like way early when it was still way, like
You have a time, like,
2 o'clock,
It's a,
What?
it's a,
like 2 o'clock.
yeah, it's a photo cell, so I'll find out if there's some
Oh.
fault. Yeah, I mean, I have to find out if there's a faulty one, you know, I mean, whatever's causing it, I don't know. That 2 o'clock, that's unusual, so I don't have an answer.
Okay, just something to mention to your electrical people maybe?
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Judy?
Aye.
Jason?
And once again, if anyone has anything that, as far as anything you want to say, my door, I will keep open and I will answer what I can. I lived it. I lived the 3 days of the trial. I know everything that was said.